Hey, what's up, everybody? Rob Marzullo here, Ram Studio Comics, and today I'm just going to talk about art in general, kind of the working aspect of being an artist, and I'll just kind of scribble as I'm doing it here because I'm actually warming up to do some of the drawing in the Blackstone comic. But what I want to talk to you about today is the kind of the things I think that some of the things that get overlooked when trying to be a working professional in comics or storyboard art or just art in general, design, whatever it might be. Um, One of the things is that I think that people always ask, how do I get better at drawing this? How do I draw that? And everybody comes back, myself included, and says something like, practice, practice, practice. But then, that always I think leaves an artist kind of unquenched, and going, oh yeah, of course. I mean, I practice all the time. What do you mean? What should I practice? What should I practice? Anatomy, lighting, shapes, blah blah, and all this stuff. So it gets caught. It gets caught in kind of a limbo, and the artist that's saying it, uh, is just simply saying, hey, my interpretation, I guess, after doing it for so long, is that hey, if you really want to do this, you got to really step your game up. You got to really be ready to put in some long hours. Um, Most art fields are extremely demanding, and it really separates the men from the, the boys in a sense of what you're capable and what you're. And I shouldn't even say capable. I think anybody's capable of getting there if you have an interest in it and a love and a passion for it. I think that partly is enough. But then the other part that's going to come into play is your tenacity, your aggressiveness to achieve. And the reason I say basically your aggressiveness to achieve is there's going to be times where you're really, for one, there's going to be times when you feel like you can't even draw. If you listen to any big working professional, they all talk about that. But also, you know, just not inspired or motivated. So that's when your hard work has to kick in, your ethic, your work ethic, and you have to say, no, I'm going to fight through this. I'm going to make it happen. um, and the amount of practice that you do kind of floats you through those hard times because you know you end up practicing so much that even on your bad days, this is going to sound pompous, but even on your bad days you draw better than most people, and that's what the practice is all about. And hopefully you're looking at your own work and you're seeing nothing but flaws. Like right now I'm looking at this, and this guy has an extremely little head, so he's probably not doing too well in school. But by me seeing the flaws in this, I'm able to, keep drawing it and say, all right, what's wrong with it now? What's wrong with it now? What's wrong with it now? I'm never sitting there looking at it going, man, this is great. Man, this is great. Man, I'm awesome. Because the reason, I think I used to think that a lot when I was younger, and then now I look back at that work and I'm just like disgusted by it. I'm like, holy moly, how did I ever think I was good? But the part I have to remember is the part that had me feeling that way was my passion for it, not so much that I was ready to be a professional artist, not that I'm even ready now. But the thing is that now I look for flaws in my work, and I constantly try to improve it and make it better. So you've got to be doing that all the time, especially to be competitive in a market where it's saturated. It's saturated by people that love to do it, especially the comics. They love to do it. They'll do it for next to nothing. It's crazy ridiculous as far as what people are willing to do just to work in that market. So, if you're going to be viable in that market, you've got to be ready to be pretty darn good, you know, if you want to make a living at it and make that your sole income. So that's where when artists are saying, hey man, practice, 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 they just don't have time to elaborate maybe, or they don't know how to say to you in any other way that, that might appeal to you or that might get through to you, I should say, um, other than saying that. But really, it just means be ready on all fronts. For one, you've got to draw everything. You can't just sit here and draw muscle bound, dudes like I'm doing here. But I practice this too because this is the main actor for my book. My character Blackstone's like muscle bound guy, and he's got these tentacle alien things coming off his back. So that's the stuff I need to practice, and occasionally throw a hot chick or in there or something to keep everybody looking that doesn't just want to look at muscle bound dudes with aliens on their backs. But at any rate, you got to practice everything. You got to practice old people sitting in a coffee shop talking about their day, and you gotta mix it up, and be ready to draw anything and everything. Especially like in my case, I'm drawing a self-published book, so I've got a little bit more freedom in what I get to draw, and I picked science fiction aliens because I just like drawing aliens. It's kind of easier and more fun to me. Um, but if I ever did land a big gig at one of the big production houses, which who knows, that probably never happened, but if it did, and I decided to take that road and they were going to pay me to do a sizable book, that'd be awesome. But I'd be in for a world of hurt. They'd be like, all right, Rob, now what we need you to draw is this guy busting through the wall, he interacts with hero such and such, and they break through the wall of the bank, money's flying everywhere, and people are running for their lives, and all of a sudden a car crashes through the window. There's just any number of things that they would tell you to draw, and at that moment you have to draw it. You have to be ready. So that's where you really got to put the time in and make sure that you can do all that. That if somebody was to throw that at you, you would just laugh and say, no big deal. How do I make this look really cool, really exceptional? Not, oh my God, I draw these really cool superheroes with big muscles, but I've never drawn, somebody shopping at a local, Jiffy Mart or whatever. So, that's all I'm saying. Where the practice end of it, you know, you do got to put in the long hours and draw everything under the sun. Um, and believe me, I'm not trying to discourage anybody here. If at all I want to do is encourage people. I would love to see the comic book market stay strong. I love the fact that it does so well with movies right now. Some of the best box office smashes are comic book flicks. I think that's all awesome, and we need to all stay, working diligently to keep it going, so it doesn't become a, thing of the past with the whole, way everything's digital and all that jazz. I mean, there's got to be a mixture of both, but that's another topic. But what I'm saying is, if you are going to do it, if you are going to be this type of artist, you have to be ready to be, you know, um, very, very hardworking. Deadlines, anytime somebody else is paying the bill, your deadlines are going to, based on the size of the bill, I imagine. If they're paying you more, then guess what? The deadlines are going to get more steep, and they're going to want more out of you. It's just a fact of life. So um, if you're fortunate enough to sit around and do an independent book, and make a good living, then great. But guess what? You'll still have deadlines because your clients, your fans, are still, for them to stick around and buy that book, they're going to want it out on a certain time. It's just like how, here with my YouTube channel, and thanks everybody that's participated and, help it maintain and stay growing. I really appreciate that. But I bring out a video at least once a week, and sometimes twice a week, because I know that if I'm going to keep this thing going and make people, happy with my production, that I've got to stick to a schedule. If I don't, they're just going to forget about me and move on to the next, channel. And um, there's lots of people doing what I'm doing on here. So it's like, to stay, uh, you know, I keep saying viable. I don't have another word, I guess, but to stay viable and to stay, current with people, you have to keep producing, and the deadlines are very much part of that. They have to be. So, imagine if you produced a book. Well, I'm going to feel bad because I'm actually this is going on with me right now. I'm only able to produce a couple books a year right now with Blackstone, and I wish it was better than that. But I'm slowly making the transition into being a full-time artist, and actually, I do more storyboard work than comics at this point. So, hopefully, I'll be able to do more comics as time progresses. But as it is, the storyboard thing has taken off better for me. So that's what I do. Um, and up until I could get that going, I started my sign shop, my graphic shop. So, I just wasn't going to sit around and wait for the big phone call that I wasn't seeming to get from from like Marvel, DC, or any of the big guys like that. I did some independent work and, made a couple bucks, but nothing to write home to mom about. Um, so it's just, one of the things where I was like, all right, I got to do something. And that's why I started my own business, which I recommend for anybody that is struggling and trying to make their way. Um, if you can't get fortunate enough to get in with some big company and make what you got to make, don't wait on anybody. Just go out, start your own thing, and do what you got to do. So that's my recommendation. I actually think one of my ideas on that is that honestly the economy and everything wouldn't be nearly in the situation it's in if more people thought that way. So yeah, so take it as you will. And um, the other thing that I was going to mention about this as I'm ranting here is back to seeing the flaws in your work that allow you to become a better artist. um, One of the great things about digital is that you can keep improving upon the artwork. Like, all right, for Blackstone's face here, right? For one, this area looks entirely flat, um, which he doesn't have ears and a nose, so it's kind of makes him actually harder to draw in some cases. But one of the cool things is the soft erase, the technique that I do in Sketchbook here. I'll soft erase this whole area down, and I'll leave just enough of the information for landmarks. And the more I want to get rid of something out of the artwork, the more I erase it down. And then, so first I'll try to maybe fix the eyes. I feel they were too big and almost anime looking. So I'm gonna try to size those down just a little bit. Now I'm gonna try to improve upon the shape of the head. And I practice this a lot because I try to not throw away any time or work that I put into this. I mean, I save almost everything, um, but I try to improve upon it and then work through it. And that's another thing. The reason why I'm talking about that isn't because I zoned out again and I'm heading in another direction. It actually is still something that I wanted to touch base on or touch on when I'm speaking about producing work professionally. Because if you keep crumbling up your pieces of paper and throwing them in the garbage, or closing out your digital software and not saving your work, or figuring out a way to work through it, then there's a lot of lost time there. There's a lot of you know chances for you to not hit the deadline and not work through something and figure it out. So that's what I'm trying to show you here a little bit, is that you know it's still not right, but I'm getting a little bit closer to what I would consider you know doable or acceptable or whatever. So I'm going to keep working on that. And if this wasn't right, I would erase down again, and I would just keep going until I get something that I can say, okay, maybe it's not the best piece, but it'll work. Um, and with the ability of digital, you can move things around and edit them so well that you really don't have to toss you know that piece, as long as you work up to it by slowly structuring your character or whatever it is you're drawing. Um, I think all that is usable information. If you look at it as such, you might not need to keep pitching it and starting over. And if you're just not feeling in the zone and that's why you're doing it, and then I would say, get out some music that inspires you, or watch a cool, uh, science fiction movie, or whatever it is that gets you, feeling creative, and hit it from that angle. But um, I would say just don't throw everything in the wastebasket is a big part. So yeah, I like that face. I mean, it's not great. Something's still just a little off. Like his head's usually glared up here. I usually draw like some glares in the cheekbones and stuff. I don't know why that's popping up there. I think the head's just a hair small, but this is also where I would like zoom back. A lot of guys will flip the artwork back and forth. That's another cool thing about digital. You can do that. Oh, and I forgot there's a couple little segments in the armor here. They light up. Just thought that would be cool to throw in there. Yeah, so sorry about ranting. Hopefully, that addresses a little bit of your curiosities. Uh, and I've just recently have made the transition to being more of a professional artist. So I'm not, really it's not like this is coming from one of the great, comic book dudes that do this, So take it as you will. I don't claim to be an all-in-all pro as far as that goes. Um, but I've had enough work published, and I've had some, good success with the YouTube channel here, to where I feel that I can offer a little bit. Um, but again, like I'm saying, I'm not one of the big wigs or the big names or nothing like that. I mean, I've never drawn for Marvel or DC. I'd love to at some point. Not so much for the financial return, just honestly because I like superheroes. I like drawing them. Like one of my bucket lists, is to one day just draw Spider-Man. I mean, I don't have to be some long-standing artist on the book or nothing like that. Just one of those things I'd like to say I've done before my days are over. So if you're listening, Marvel, come on, man. No, I'm just kidding. If I get there, cool. If I don't, it's not gonna ruin me or nothing. But that's also why I draw my own. And one last thing in closing, back to the hard work ethic thing and being ready, to really work your tail off if you think you're gonna do this. Don't sit around and just draw pinups and shots even like this and think that you're gonna make it. One of the reasons the first thing that anybody will tell you in comics, and I've done a lot of research on this, is draw your own. If you want to work for the big companies, they're not going to flat out hire you. You got to make your online presence. You got to make yourself known and show all your work off, whether it be DeviantArt, YouTube, Facebook, whatever. But also that you need to draw your own book. Now, I saw that information. I'm like, well, cool. I've been drawing my own book for quite some time now. But I get why they say that. It is tough to produce a book. Once you put out your own 28-page comic book, or wait, I'm sorry. I think I do mine in 22 actually. Oops. Yeah. Anyways, 22 pages. Yeah, just do those extra 6 pages, and I do a couple pinups too, and you get the cover. But anyways, once you produce your own book, um, you realize there is a lot of work into it, especially if you're doing like me and you're penciling and inking. It's a lot of work. It doesn't just happen overnight. I only put out a couple books a year right now of Blackstone because I still have to do paying gigs to make all my bills and raise my family and all that fun stuff. So um, so that's why it's probably best that you do go out there, assemble a team, um, get some buddies together that you all like to draw, or if you're going to do it solo like me, then get to work and get it done. But you got to get your book out there, and that shows them a lot. It shows them the caliber of art that you can do, where you're at artistically, and with all the various things that go into it, everything from dynamics to um, imagination to page layout and composition. There's a lot of things that go into being a good illustrator. So it shows them all that, but lastly, it shows them that you can complete a project. That you can sit down and do something and see it to its finality, and that is probably the biggest thing. Where it's going to separate you know the men from the dads, or the men from the men from the children, however that term goes. But that's what it's going to show them. Uh, and those big companies aren't going to hire guys like us unless we've had a ton of published work. I mean, they're probably going to want to see multiple published books, and unless you're just really exceptional and they got to have you for whatever reason. But or you've got this really cool character with tentacles on their back, and they're like, whoa, yeah, let's have this guy work for us. No, I don't know, but as I'm saying that, I'm realizing this hand is extremely out of whack with the way the armor is. Um, so yeah, so that's my little rant on artwork today. Hopefully it's been informative and helped you out. And then a few people asked me to show them how I draw Blackstone. So I mean, I guess it was kind of another two birds with one stone video. Show you how I'm sketching this dude out. Basically, he's all mirrory black, so I do like this little highlights like this. This is all I picture where the glares are on them. So I make sound effects. Sound effects help your art immensely, so make sure you do lots of sound effects. And yeah, then I do these little X's and I fill it in. So I'll probably go ahead and finish this artwork, and then post it on Deviant if you want to see the the finished sketch. I'll throw a little loose background stuff in there. But yeah, so if the video has been helpful, like, subscribe, and please remember to share. By sharing the videos, you help me keep progressing this channel and getting it out to new viewers, which in turn helps me create a little bit of income, which in turn helps me draw Blackstone. So you, in a direct way, will help me to produce my comic book, Blackstone, which you can find on Indie Planet. So thanks very much for watching. Keep drawing, keep having fun. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.